Welcome to this episode of the Simplified podcast, where I sit down with Kat Claypool from Wisetail LMS. Kat's the director of sales with Wisetail and was recently at the Chart conference here in Charlotte. And I wanted to sit down with her to get the vendor perspective because I was at this most recent Chart conference with Kat, and I saw her running around there as a participant. And frankly, I didn't realize that she was a vendor while she was there. That's how integrated she was into the event and the community. And so I reached out because she brings something special and something different to the table when it comes to the vendor and partner relationship. And so I wanted to talk about that and get her perspective on how she approaches charts, how she approaches the vendor relationship, and what is it that makes this conference so special, and how she's able to do what she does at this conference. So it's a wealth of information. It's a great perspective from the vendor side to see what she's thinking about and how she tries to extract value from conferences like these. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this conversation with Kat Claypool from Wisetail, all about the Chart conference.
I'm Kat Claypool, the Director of Sales for Wisetail. Wisetail has been around since 2008, so primarily in the restaurant industry for all 16 years that we've been here. And Chart has been a massive part of us being connected to the industry in the way that we are. So knowing that restaurants are our focus, it's how we've built our product, it's how we continue to enhance our product. Chart has really been that pivotal connection point of discovering that thought leadership that's currently in the market and in the industry, and where we should be spending our time. The interesting piece about Wisetail and Chart's involvement is, for anyone who doesn't know, and I think I made a big deal about it at Chart Charlotte, but Wisetail and PlayerLink have merged. We are building a combined platform and really focused on transforming frontline training with our learning management system and pulling in PlayerLink's content management system. So in addition to Wisetail's involvement with Chart, PlayerLink has also been involved with Chart for numerous years.
That's great. Do you remember how you first heard about Chart, or when it came on your radar among all of the conferences you could go to go sell Wisetail? Or is it just naturally because you all were in the restaurant industry?
I think naturally being in the restaurant industry, but my personal journey to Chart with Wisetail, we were all coming off of the dirty word, the pandemic.
Yes.
And my very first chart was Chart Las Vegas, which what a chart to start at. And it was, when I went, from the vendor perspective, compared to some of the massive shows, it's a little bit smaller of an attendee list, but it is the most impactful because you actually get to spend time with all of the attendees in a variety of settings. And in Vegas, we had Nick Kyle, who runs training for Bagel Brands. He was there, and getting to spend time with him and California Pizza Kitchen and some of our clients. I went back to our team and I was like, we're going to every Chart from here on out. This is the greatest conference I've ever been to. And it continues to be.
That what makes it so great, because there is something about it and everybody says it, but could you try to bring it to life if somebody's never been there before? Like, what is it about Chart that makes it so special?
The way that I describe it internally to the folks who haven't attended is it essentially is that feeling of being a kid and going to summer camp. You're seeing people who maybe you went to camp last summer and your friends are back, and then you're making all of these new friends and you're doing activities together and having fun. It is one, from the professional side, there's so much professional development that occurs for the attendees, for the vendors, just being able to attend the sessions and really that thought leadership angle of learning from each other. But then it's also just fun in a way that I don't think a lot of conferences really have. They might have, a lot of the conferences I go to, they have the networking happy hour where everyone stands with their glass of wine, and that's nice. But Chart really pushes you to interact with each other while it still feels organic. So the different events that they have throughout the conference are really impactful.
It's interesting hearing you speak, because you speak as if you are a trainer in a restaurant going to your conference, and yet you're on the other side of the aisle as the vendor. How does that evolution happen? Was it like that from the first chart you went to, or did that evolve over time as you were like, this is like my community now, and I feel a part of this community?
It definitely feels like my community, my people. It is the thing that I look forward to the most, whether it's the winter or the summer conference. I would say it was the very first one, like I talked about in Vegas. It just felt so different, where everyone, they really are helping each other and learning from each other. And you have, from the attendee level, you have competitors there who are in the same session, hearing the same information, but it's going to change based on how they apply that information. And I think that that's where a lot of the vendors come into play, because we're hearing the same things and we take that back to our team and say, these were the top 5 things that I kept hearing at this conference. How can we help our industry with some of these challenges, or from a technology standpoint, how can we better support them?
That's great. So as a vendor, you're not even just, because there's the expo that's for vendors, but you're going to the whole conference. Like, you're attending sessions, you're in and out. You're not just showing up for the booth.
I try to be as present as humanly possible. Sam, we talked about this in our prep, but I got the comment from one person when I was bartending at the hospitality suite night. They just said, "Kat, you do everything." And I really try to at Chart, and try to be as involved as possible. I think what you put in is what you get out at Chart. So it's a little bit more than just showing up with your suitcase, but really trying to meet as many people as possible and trying to help. It is such a special event. And I think if all of the vendors, if all of the attendees volunteer in some way or do something to go above and beyond, it's just that much more successful for everyone.
That's great. I've noticed from the participants that come, some bring their team. Like, it's not even just for them to learn, but they realize that this is really important for my team to learn. You were there with a team, and you mentioned PlayerLink joining, and you're all joining forces, but you were there in force with some folks. Is it a team development for vendors as well, beyond just like the sales process?
I fully believe so. So we took a slightly different approach to this chart. We brought an account executive, Brianna, who is based in Charlotte. So I thought it was a great opportunity for her to get to network with anyone from the Charlotte area who might be attending, which there were several. And then we also brought an account manager, Josh, from the PlayerLink side of things. So being able to show that unity between our two companies coming together. And also having an account manager in your booth, you learn very quickly that yes, it is great to meet new people. It is great to see your existing clients and maintain those relationships. But there were some of our clients who came up and wanted to work on a couple of things. I mean, while we're in the resource gallery at the booth, they're like, "I have my computer. Can you show me how to do this thing or this thing?" And so it also becomes a little bit of coaching versus what folks might traditionally think a conference is utilized for.
That's amazing. So it's not just the selling of a product, but it's like product support on site.
It was like tech support in person, which what better way to do it?
That is great. That is great. What keeps you going back? Like, I know obviously from the vendor side, but you could send other folks on your team. So what keeps you personally going back year after year?
The more you go, the deeper the relationships get. And when you have relationships to the level that I've grown at Chart, they transform over time. So even though someone that I know at an organization might not be utilizing Wisetail, they know me. And if they know that their friend who owns this restaurant group is possibly looking for a new LMS solution, oftentimes they'll refer them towards Wisetail. So that's the business side of the networking, the connections that you make. It really does pay off and is beyond beneficial. Personally, those are my folks. I am obviously in sales, obviously high energy. And I feel like Chart is just made for me to have the best professional time possible. So the resource gallery is where, as you know, Sam, all of the vendors set up their booths and we try to make it as fun as possible. So for Chart Orlando, we did a beach theme and we gave out bucket hats to everyone. For Chart Charlotte, we did a NASCAR theme. So we had checker hats and all kinds of NASCAR pieces. But what is so amazing about the way Chart runs their resource gallery compared to the way most conferences run their vendor booths is they really encourage folks to actually go and make those connections through things like the raffle. Most vendors do a raffle. We've given away an iPad the last couple of charts. And it is just an organic way to stimulate the conversation, but also the games that they play. For any Chart folks watching, whether it's heads or tails, we all know that one. And if you don't know, if you are a first-time attendee at Chart Chicago this summer, it is the best time and just a blast.
That is great. That is great. I love just like when, as I've been talking to people about this and I'm seeing it on your face as you describe it, like people like get happier and happier and more excited the more they talk about this conference, which like I've been to a ton of them as an attendee and then now going on the vendor side and like, no one talks about conferences like this. Like it's not a normal thing.
No, it's not. It's back to that summer camp feeling. You run into everyone in the hotel hallways and down in the lobby, and it's really just immersive from the time you show up until the time you leave in one way or another.
That's amazing. What I have two left for you. What are you looking forward to in future charts? I know there's a big difference between winter and summer, so different conferences, different types, but future, whether it's Chicago coming up or in the future, what do you hope evolves into, or what are you looking forward to most in your next one?
We are trying to go big, Sam. So we elevated our sponsorship level from last year to this year, 2024. We were a silver sponsor, and now we've committed to the gold sponsorship. So I have let the Chart folks know we are leaning in fully. Whatever we have the opportunity to participate in, we will be. And I am so excited, even though right now this has very much felt like my place and where I have the most fun in my career and progress the most, to see what leaning in even further is going to accomplish for myself professionally, for my team that attends, for Wisetail as a whole, but really to see where that journey leads.
I'm excited to see what you all bring to Chicago. That's like next level stuff.
It is. We've got a really fun theme planned out for Chicago. So I'll keep my lips zipped for now, but it's going to be our best one yet.
That's great. That is great. And then I'd love to hear this because these have been my favorite stories. If you think back over since Vegas when you first went, is there one experience or one memory from all the charts that you've been to that sticks in your mind of like, it was a transformational one or something that just speaks to the heart of what Chart is above all the other experiences that you've had?
There's a funny one, and I think it is so telling of what Chart is. So in Chart Orlando, I had a team member who has been taking nighttime MBA classes towards his MBA. So he could not attend the hospitality suite that night. So I'm up there on my own. No big deal. We've all done conferences. It's fine. But it was really me. I need to go network. I need to meet people. And so I noticed that there was a group playing a dice game. Now, if you haven't been to Chart, it is often that in the hospitality suite, someone will be playing cards or a game on the TV. In this instance, we were playing dice. And we decided to step it up a notch, and I started throwing in a couple of dollars here and there. And so it gets down to like a fun group. I am the only female at this table playing at this point, and I'm like, all right, I'm going in on this. So Sam, I put a total of $5 in the pot. I left the room that night with $163. And the folks that I had beat out in the dice game, they are now a vendor partner of ours. It's another vendor who we've partnered with, and it is one of my closest relationships in the industry. And it all started from walking into the hospitality suite completely by myself that night at chart.
How about it? A game of dice, $160 coming out of it.
It was a fun one.
That is great, though. I feel like that speaks to it. So many people have talked about community, and it feels like it doesn't matter what side of the vendor booth you're on. If you're a participant or the vendor, the community is still the community. It's not participants and non-participants. It's a chart community, no matter where you come from.
It absolutely is. And I just can't wait for Chicago. I'm getting excited just talking to you now. So.
Yeah, you're going to be excited about it already. I have not started planning for it. So now I have to mentally prepare if you're already there.
It's time. It's getting there. We'll be there before you know it.
It is.